Hi, welcome to Africa in Perspective. My name's Nelda and I discuss African affairs Mondays through Fridays. Today's question of the day is, should African countries go visa-free? The reason we're having this conversation is because Kenya recently announced that it's going to be inviting every single African country to come to their country visa-free, except two, that is Libya and Somalia. And that is because Libya and Somalia have been involved with terrorist activities to do with Al-Shabaab and Al-Qaeda and ISIS. Now, there are also a few Caribbean countries that have been included in this visa-free policy. And that is precisely because Kenya wants to increase exposure to the African diaspora. And a few countries that have been included are Jamaica, Grenada, Belize, the Bahamas, Barbados, all these beautiful countries that I would love to visit and I can't wait. Now, is this a good move or a bad move? Well, it's very complicated, but what I care about is why exactly should you watch this video? Well, are you somebody who likes to travel? Are you somebody who's hoping to travel some more? Are you somebody who cares about learning about other people's cultures? Are you somebody who enjoys seeing beautiful sights across the world? Because if you do, it's very important that you consider Kenya. Look at how amazing the Maasai Mara looks. Look at how yellow and beautiful the sun is. The Maasai Mara is known primarily for its great migration, which is when animals like buffaloes, antelopes, zebras, they migrate from Serengeti, which is in the United Republic of Tanzania, and they go all the way to Kenya. And there's also the Nairobi National Park. You see the city in the background, but you see the savannah in the front. Absolutely stunning. It's such a nice juxtaposition that you don't really see in a lot of countries when you go for safaris in Africa. Then there's the Amboseli National Park. You see the zebras grazing. You may be wondering, what is that beautiful, magnificent beast in the background? That is Mount Kilimanjaro, which is not in Kenya, it's in Tanzania, guys. But the mountain is the tallest freestanding mountain in the world. So it's almost 6 kilometers upwards. You're obviously going to see it from Kenya because it's close to the border. It's massive. But Amboseli is a good place to visit. If you don't like safaris or you're scared of animals, like I am, which is why I've never been on a safari and I probably will not be caught doing one, you can go to the beach, Diani Beach. Look at how white the sand is. Look at how blue the waters are. Nothing compared to Zanzibar, but... Am I being salty? I'm sorry, guys, I'm being salty. I'm Tanzanian, can you tell? I'm being salty, but I'll stop. Lamu is my dream destination in Kenya, so I'm gonna stop being salty. I love Lamu and I'm definitely going to visit, especially because of Lamu Old Town, which is actually a UNESCO protected site because of their involvement with the Indian Ocean trade. So clearly, Kenya is going to benefit quite a lot because there's so much to see in Kenya. Their tourism sector is already benefiting quite a lot. Like in 2022, they had 1.5 million visitors. That's a lot of people. 1.9 million people in 2023. 2.5 million people in 2024. Absolutely amazing. And in 2024, they received $2.1 billion in revenue just from tourists. So, of course, Americans were the leading tourists because they have money and they like to go on a safari. I love my American viewers. By the way, don't get offended. That's just me trying to do an American accent. But that's not the only sector that Kenya has benefited from. They've also benefited quite a lot in the foreign direct investments. And that is basically when somebody directly, it's in the word, guys, but I also am trying to understand it because I'm not an economist. But it's when somebody actively buys into a company, for example, or takes ownership of a company and they're pouring their money directly, not just buying passive shares. And from that alone, in 2023, Kenya got $1.5 billion in their revenue. And this has been an important area because Rwanda, for example, which has also opened itself up, they increased their foreign direct investments by 8% annually. And that is precisely because they opened themselves up as well. And when you look at imports and exports, in 2023, Kenya, their exports were valued at 7.2 billion, which is absolutely impressive if you ask me. And their imports were 14.8 billion. And now that they've also opened themselves up to Jamaica, Barbados, they're potentially going to gain an extra 200 million just from investing and trading with the Caribbean countries. Now, the other benefit that Kenya is obviously going to get on top of all of this is that it is going to strengthen Kenya's diplomatic ties and also their regional integration. Kenya is already an economic leader on the continent. I don't need to tell you, a lot of people know Kenya compared to I'm not going to name names. Kenya is one of the most known countries in Africa. And so Kenya's influence is going to grow because a lot of people are going to visit the country. And they also already have reciprocal agreements, which is like tit for tat. Like you invite us in, we invite you in. And that is going to open up a space for Kenyans as well to go out there into the world and to visit all these other beautiful countries. And for example, in 2023, Kenya signed 12 bilateral agreements. And that is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. But what I like about this is that this is going to boost intra-African trade, which I am a big advocate for, guys. I will tell you with my full chest that I want Africans to trade more. Like I would love to see African small businesses on my TikTok and my Instagram, but sometimes I'm just like, ugh, but how do I get a hold of those goods? Because I know like importing them into Tanzania, they're gonna go through a lot of things. So I really want to see more African trade between African countries. And I speak about this very intensely because the EU, which is the European Union, 60% of their trade happens amongst themselves, amongst the European Union countries. In the African Union, that is only 15%. If the Europeans can do 60%, we sure as heaven can do 60% as well. So let's keep at it. And I think Kenya is leading a great example by already going ahead and doing this. The other thing I want to cover here is in 2024, 14% of the people who visited Kenya were going there for things like conferences, educational programs, things like talks. And I think this is key because think about, for example, I was thinking about it this way, yeah? There is 638 of you right now, my subscribers. I'm so happy, guys. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. Now, I was thinking if we were to do like a conference, like the Africa in Perspective conference, can you take a wild guess what country we would go do it in? It will obviously be Kenya for me. It would obviously be Kenya because it would be easy for us to just get up, pack our bags and go. Do you see? Do you get? It's very important to open yourself up a little bit, not entirely. I will talk about this briefly about the downsides of just having open borders, because open borders on paper, absolutely magnificent. I wrote an essay. I took a class called immigration when I was doing my bachelor's degree. It was in psychology, but we had to take electives and everything, guys. And I did this class and my professor was like, open borders, open borders. I had to write the essay to just get my A. But open borders are not as practical as they may seem, okay? There always needs to be certain limitations. One of the reasons is the economic strain Kenya is going to experience is significant. For example, Jomo Kenyatta, which is the main international airport, already experiences, it's very close to its capacity, which is 7.5 million people. And 69% of visitors that Kenya get go to Jomo Kenyatta. So, of course, now that they're like, okay, everybody and your moms come to Kenya, that is going to increase their capacity and it's going to just like, pew, go through the roof. Now, they either need to build extensions to the airport or they need to redirect their traffic to other international airports that they have. Things like urban centers. Road congestion is a massive thing in Kenya. Like Nairobi, my friends who live in Nairobi will tell you, road congestion is intense. But I'm speaking as a Tanzanian, Dar es Salaam, I don't think there's anything worse than Dar es Salaam, guys. Now, the road networks in Nairobi are meant to handle 1.2 million vehicles, but currently they're handling 1.8 million vehicles. So already they're over capacity. So imagine inviting tourists as well. This is something that they already need to start looking into. Hotel shortages. During peak season, which is around August when the migration is happening, the great migration between Serengeti and Maasai Mara, 92% of hotels were at capacity. 92%. And those are like all the good ones are taken. The 8% are probably like dingy little 2-star, 1-star, 0-star hotels. So this is something else to consider because Maasai Mara especially, she's a hot girl. She stays booked and busy. People get turned away from Maasai Mara because it's just so booked. So that's something else to consider. Utilities, water and electricity. Does the country have the capacity to not only provide for its residents, but also incoming traffic from tourists who are coming in? Yeah, of course, for a brief moment, but then they're going away. Like if you're looking at 1.9 million people coming in a year, that was in 2023, that is around 5,000 people every day coming in. 5,000 more people on top of your residents. And then there's the other 5,000 who came the day before yesterday. And then there's, of course, people are leaving as well. But that is putting a strain on the resources that you have as a country. Not only this, but also security threats. Like Kenya is not friends, neighbors with Somalia. And Somalia has Al-Shabaab. They literally bombed, was it 54 peacemakers were killed? And so that is something to consider. But Kenya is already doing amazing at this. So in 2024, Kenya's counterterrorism unit disrupted 12 terrorist plots. They worked really closely with Interpol, that is the International Criminal Police Organization, and 80% of their cross-border investigations were with Interpol, of course. So keep at it. Security is obviously very concerning. Now, a lot of people typically say, well, I don't want to travel to Africa because of safety. Like, I'm worried about my safety. You shouldn't travel anywhere else then, because trust me, Italy. Do you guys watch the videos on TikTok about Italy? And there's this lady who's like, attenzione, pickpocket. There's pickpockets everywhere. Kidnapping, there's kidnapping everywhere. If it's like tiny little things like, I don't know, stabbing, London, people in London here are getting stabbed like every other day. So when it comes to safety, it's just a matter of staying very vigilant, staying in places where there's a lot of people and being extra careful. But of course, don't be afraid to travel to these countries, especially Kenya. It's absolutely beautiful. Now, to close the video, should other African countries follow what Kenya is doing? My answer is big fat yes. A big massive fat yes. In Trump's voice, that is my best attempt, guys. Because here's the thing, Kenya is projected to have roughly 3.3 billion more added to its revenue just by opening itself up like this. And leading countries in tourism like Egypt, Morocco, Tunisia, South Africa, Tanzania, all these countries I think they should follow what Kenya is doing, because imagine the capacity that we have. Tourism is an amazing economic sector to be able to open yourself up to. Like countries like the UAE, when you guys hear Dubai and Abu Dhabi, it's actually Abu Dhabi, but it's fine. These countries are opening themselves up, like the UAE. It's gaining a lot of money from the tourism sector because they've built the infrastructure for people to come in. So my answer is a big fat yes, but with a caveat. If we're going to be opening up our countries, we need to be able to handle it. We need to prepare ourselves. So don't just if there is any president of any African country who's watching this, first of all, thank you so much for watching. But don't just get up tomorrow in the morning and be like, okay, now that John said we should open up the country, let's go ahead and open up the country. No. I think we need to prepare ourselves. Like, okay, do we have the capacity to take care of these people? Are our roads ready? Do we have the right public transport? It's not a miracle that Morocco is doing great at tourism. They have good public transport compared to a majority of other African countries. Not just infrastructure, things like skills training, making sure the air hostess in our airlines are trained, and air hostess, or what are the male version of air hostesses called? Are they all just hair? I knew I was going to make that mistake. English is not my first language. Anyways, we need to care about skills training our people to have high quality hospitality, like classy, classy, the African way. We can do it the African way. We don't need to copy what other countries are doing. Let's just do it our own way, with a little bit of African spices. The other thing is corruption. I need to just hone on this point. I know I'm running out of time, but we need to curb corruption, because if we don't curb corruption, that is where security threats and security issues are going to come up at. Because what would stop a terrorist from coming into your country if they can give a really good bribe to your border control officers? Do you guys get what I'm saying? And I think security is very important, especially for a country like Kenya, which is bordered by South Sudan, I think, Ethiopia. I don't think Kenya is bordered by South Sudan, guys. I'm lying. Wait, I can check that right now. Kenya map border. I can't believe I forgot about them. I was right. Kenya is bordered by I knew it. South Sudan, Ethiopia, and Somalia, and Uganda. And Tanzania is a very peaceful country. They don't have to worry about us. But the other neighbors towards the north, they could be a little bit concerning. I'm not trying to throw shade. This is just pure statistics. There's a lot of conflicts going on in those regions. But make sure that your people are paid well, that they're trained well on how to be patriotic and to fight for their country's reputation. So those are all the things that I wanted to speak about today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to subscribe, to like, to share, to comment, all that stuff. Just let me know what you like about the video, what didn't you like. Share it with your friends, and you will see me in the next video. Bye.